The silence in our suburban home had never felt so heavy. It was the third week of Mark's business trip, a necessary one for a project that could define his year, and I, Chloe, was adrift. We'd video called every night, his pixelated smile beaming from my laptop screen, but it wasn't the same. The house, usually filled with the low hum of his presence, the rustle of his newspaper, his off-key singing in the shower, the weight of his arm around me on the couch, was now just a beautifully decorated shell. I'd done all the things you're supposed to do: deep cleaned the kitchen, organized the garage, binge watch series, have long lunches with friends. But the emptiness always returned, sharper and more profound each time. Asterisk, it was on a Tuesday, during a steady gray rain. That loneliness truly knocked on my door. Asterisk, it wasn't a metaphorical knock. It was a real, solid three-tap sound that echoed through the hollow foyer. Startled, I peered through the peephole. A woman stood there, her coat collar turned up against the drizzle, her dark hair plastered to her forehead. She looked normal, a little lost, perhaps. Asterisk, I opened the door a crack. "Can I help you?" Asterisk, "I'm so sorry to bother you," she said, her voice soft but clear. "My car just died at the end of your street. My phone's dead too. Would it be all right if I used your phone to call a tow truck? I'm Lena, by the way." Asterisk, she seemed harmless, and the sheer human need in her request pierced through my own fog of self-pity. I was raised to be helpful. "Of course," I said, opening the door wider. "Come in, you're soaked." "I'm Chloe." Asterisk, she stepped inside, dripping onto the welcome mat, and I felt a strange, immediate shift in the atmosphere. It was as if the quiet of the house, which had been a passive, empty thing, suddenly became attentive. I handed her my cordless phone and went to fetch a towel from the linen closet. Asterisk, when I returned, she was still standing in the same spot, not having made the call, just holding the phone and looking around our living room with an expression I couldn't quite place. It wasn't curiosity. It was more like appraisal. Asterisk, the call. I prompted gently, handing her the towel. Asterisk, "Oh, right. Thank you." She dialed, spoke briefly to a dispatcher, and hung up. They said about 45 minutes. "Do you mind if I wait?" Asterisk, what could I say? No, go wait in the rain? Not at all. Would you like some coffee, tea? Asterisk, tea would be lovely, she said, and her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Asterisk, in the kitchen, as the kettle whistled, I felt a prickle of unease. It was an instinct, a small, quiet voice telling me this was a mistake. But I dismissed it. I was just being paranoid, a woman alone in a big house. This was what happened when you spent too much time by yourself. You forgot how to be social. Asterisk, we sat at the kitchen island with our steaming mugs. Lena had draped the towel over her shoulders. The small talk was stilted. Asterisk, it's a beautiful home, she said. So quiet. Do you live here alone? Asterisk, the question felt intrusive. My husband, Mark, is away on business, I said, a little more curtly than I intended. Asterisk, ah, she said, and that single syllable was laden with meaning. It must be so still. Asterisk, the way she said still made it sound like a disease. We lapsed back into silence. It was different from the silence I'd been living with. My silence was empty. This one was full, pressing in on me. I found myself talking just to fill it, telling her about Mark's project, about how much I missed him, about how the days seemed to stretch on forever. Asterisk, Lena just listened, sipping her tea, her gaze fixed on me. She didn't offer any stories of her own. She was a sponge, absorbing my solitude. Asterisk, loneliness is a funny thing, she said finally, cutting me off mid-sentence about our plans to renovate the backyard. People think it's an absence, a lack of noise. But it's not. It's a presence all its own. It has a weight, a taste. It can become a companion if you let it. Asterisk, a chill traced a path down my spine. This wasn't normal conversation. I suppose, I mumbled, looking at the clock. The tow truck should be here soon. Asterisk, should it? She asked, her tone light, almost mocking. Asterisk, the next 40 minutes were some of the longest of my life. Lena didn't move from her stool. She just watched me, occasionally making another cryptic comment that seemed designed to amplify my own anxieties. Asterisk. You know, she mused, it's when we're alone that we truly meet ourselves. And sometimes that person is a stranger. Sometimes that stranger is frightening. Asterisk, my heart was beating a little faster. I wanted her gone. I stood up and went to the window, pretending to look for the truck. The street was empty. He's not coming, Lena said from behind me. I turned. The dispatcher said, asterisk, I didn't call a tow truck, she said calmly. I didn't need to, asterisk. Then who did you call? My voice was a whisper, asterisk, no one. She placed her empty mug on the counter with a soft, definitive click. I just needed to come inside. Asterisk, the air left my lungs. This was no stranded motorist. This was something else entirely. The fear was cold and solid in my stomach. I think you should leave, I said, trying to sound firm. But my words trembled. Asterisk, Lena smiled, and this time it did reach her eyes, but the effect was terrifying. Her eyes were deep and ancient, and in them, I saw a reflection of the hollow feeling I'd been fighting for weeks. Asterisk. But Chloe, she said, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, I am not here to harm you. I am here because you invited me. You've been feeding me for weeks with your sighs and your lonely tears. You called and I answered. Asterisk, my mind reeled. This wasn't real. It couldn't be. I was having a stress-induced breakdown. You're not real, I stammered, backing away. Aren't I? She asked, standing up. What is loneliness, if not real? It's a thing that sits with you at dinner, that shares your bed, that whispers in your ear when the world is quiet. You gave it a name, and you gave it a shape. My shape. Asterisk, she took a step toward me, and the room seemed to grow colder. The photos of Mark and me on the fridge suddenly felt like artifacts from a different life. A life I was in danger of losing forever. Asterisk. I can be a good companion, Lena continued. Her voice now a silken thread winding around me. I never argue. I never leave. You'll never have to miss anyone again because I will be everything. Your quiet will become your whole world, and you will learn to love it. Asterisk, no, I said, the word bursting from me with a force I didn't know I had. No, I don't want that. I miss Mark because I love him. I love the noise he makes. I love the life we have together. This emptiness isn't me. It's just a season, a waiting period. Asterisk, Lena's pleasant mask slipped. Her face became sharp, severe. You don't mean that. You dread the end of our time together? You dread returning to the silence I fill. Asterisk, and in that moment I realized she was right about one thing. I was afraid of the silence, but I was more afraid of letting this entity, this manifestation of my own despair, become a permanent resident in my life, in my home, in my heart. Asterisk, I thought of Mark. I thought of his laugh. I thought of the way he always squeezed my hand 3 times to say, I love you. I thought of the future we were building, a future full of noise and chaos and love. A future that had no room for Lena. Asterisk, I straightened my shoulders, drawing on a reserve of strength I'd forgotten I possessed. You have to leave, I said, my voice steady and clear. You are not welcome here. This is my home. This is my life. And you are not a part of it. Asterisk, I walked to the front door and pulled it open. The rain had stopped, and a weak, golden sunset was breaking through the clouds. Asterisk, Lena stared at me, her expression unreadable. For a second, I saw not a monster, but a profound, infinite sadness in her eyes, the collective sadness of everyone who had ever felt truly alone. Asterisk, they always fight. In the end, she said softly, but I am patient. I am always waiting. Asterisk, she walked past me and out the door without another word. She didn't walk down the driveway toward a broken down car. She simply walked down the path, and by the time she reached the sidewalk, she seemed to dissolve into the twilight, becoming one with the long, stretching shadows. Asterisk, I closed the door and leaned against it, my legs shaking. The house was silent again, but this silence was different. It wasn't empty anymore. It was pregnant with possibility. It was the quiet of a stage before the play begins, the quiet of a blank canvas. It was my silence, and I was no longer afraid of it. Asterisk, I had picked up my phone, my real working phone, and called Mark. Asterisk, hey, you. His cheerful voice answered, a balm to my raw nerves. Asterisk, hey, I said. And the tears that came this time were not of loneliness, but of relief and love. I really miss you. And I can't wait for you to come home. Asterisk, we talked for an hour. I didn't tell him about Lena. Some battles are fought and won in the privacy of our own hearts. But I knew, with a certainty that settled deep in my bones, that I had faced down a darkness and won. Asterisk, loneliness had knocked on my door, and I had, for a moment, let it in. But I had also found the strength to show it out. The quiet of the house was no longer my enemy. It was simply the space between the notes of my life's song, a necessary rest before the music swelled again. And I knew, without a doubt, that when Mark returned, the melody would be all the sweeter.